What's up, YouTube? How's it hanging? Well, has been a minute, but we got a whole bunch of cars backlogged. I've been very busy with many things, but I was always able to have a little smidgen of time to look at and collect more cars. I had to. There's been some great releases. Not too many delays. I thought that we'd see a lot of delays with everything that's been going on in course of production and everything like that. And most of the things have been on time for when they said they were going to come out. So a lot of stuff. I did continue the theme of doing some things online. I pulled the trigger on some vehicles that I just could not find. I did not want to miss it. If you missed the first round, I've said this before, if you missed that first time to get distributed, second, third hand, trying to pick them up, prices go up very heavily. So even though they might be slightly elevated, sometimes you got to bite the bullet, especially, trying to stay safe and try to limit exposure to the outside areas. So I did get some deals, but took a couple lucky cars in my pocket, and I have recently found some local stuff, so those will be in some subsequent episodes. But we're going to do some M2 today, and I'm going to throw in a Johnny Lightning. Real short. I'm not going to make this long because I got M2 this time in a quantity where I can kind of leave it by itself for a shorter one. Then we got a lot of Auto World that I got. Some variations, and then probably after that, probably the biggest one we'll probably spend time with is some green light stuff that I've picked up. So without further ado, what are we going to look at? Well, I think we're going to do 3 or 4 vehicles today, and this is one I've had my eye on. This is the first brand new to the collection. I don't have this at all in any scale. And I don't know why I don't, because it's one of my favorites in real life. This is, what am I talking about? Land Cruiser. Wow. This is one of the MiJo exclusive. And I like these. These are widely available if you look at them online. What's cool about these is, usually it's online exclusives. Not too many guys hanging these on pegs out there, meaning that, you really got to go find someone that distributes these. But production is lower, and these really don't cost, anywhere different than what you'd find locally. They're really not that much more money. But they come in cooler colors. There's a lot of MiJo stuff. There's another M&J Toys. Looks like a release. They get involved with a lot of cool cars. A lot of factory stock stuff. Not so wild and crazy. So this is Custom Brown. This didn't look anything like this in the pictures. This looked like it was gold. This is really like that 70s brown, golden rod, wheat color, any of those type of color names you could think of. This has that really great feel. This is supposed to be a 1980. So this truck, what's it, FJ, right? Am I right? Pretty sure these are FJs. But anyway, nearing the end of production by 1980. These weren't long for the world after this. They really updated this thing. This is one of the best ones you can get for this platform. This is something that was like, I think it was late 60s, early 70s when this body came out. The FJ was around for a while. Because they had these 4-wheel drives, they had the idea for these little light utility 4-wheel drives. Certainly after World War II, they were able to, everybody was getting into the overland vehicle market. Shares a common platform, a recipe like Land Rover and Jeep does. Body on frame construction, rather light duty body with really good approach and departure angles. Good breakover, meaning that we're the wheelbase. So short wheelbase, not a lot of overhang. Good torquey engine, low gearing. Back then, they really didn't do independent suspension, so it was typically solid axle. So this stuff's really heavy duty and worked quite well. It's easy to service, etc. So First one I've had of Johnny Lightning. They do it in the steel wheels. They're trying to replicate like a hubcap because they paint it, but really they should have just left it all one color. They would have had the littlest tiny dish to them. They were narrow, and you would have probably seen the locking hub sticking out of there. So this is kind of like a generic wheel. These are those two-piece wheels that Johnny Lightning does. And this is a Johnny Lightning casting from the base. So, not like a Racing Champions or anything like that. The one thing I noticed too, it's got an issue with the way the body sits on the frame. You could see this rear axle was pushed a little far forward. And I was looking at this, what was going on, what's crooked. To my determination, it seems like it's been drilled offset of this one on the passenger side. You can see how much more centered it is there. So that bothers the heck out of me. Probably going to have to fix that. Actually, talking about changing wheelbase, let me take this down. We see, kind of want to bring this up. Kind of going on a tangent, but it can be done. If something bothers you, just take the car apart. To fall, it's fun. These little tiny cars, they only have like 3 or 4 parts to them. They're really not that hard. Start out with Hot Wheels, get used to that, and then you can graduate to this pretty quickly. You just got to take your time. But anyway, this is an issue, right? Before we look at it. So you see that? Terrible. Well, this is the one that really sticks in my craw. You can see how close this front wheel is, and these wheels are not very good. So I was kind of green light came to the rescue with their dually wheel and tire pack. This gauge of tire is not like their other trucks. It's really a half ton or the medium duty truck. So like the dually series, same gauge tire and wheel. This is what it looks like corrected, just so you and I did it within like 10 minutes. You can see, look at that, better wheels. I trued up the tires, made like a home-laid lathe to kind of like make them so now they're circular instead of being flat. And I just moved the axle forward. So if you look under here, what I did is I just re-drilled the hole forward and then shimmed it so it wouldn't roll backwards. And now we have a very nice looking truck. So what am I saying? I'm just saying that this thing is begging for that. Definitely that treatment. I might have to get another one. The problem with this is when you have a low production vehicle, you really I'd probably have to get another one to drill it out, because you have to keep these kind of the way they are unless you had 10 of them laying around. So let's look at this real quick too. The engine was kind of impressive on this. I thought they did a great job. It's like funny, Johnny Lightning, they'll have very simplistic vehicles all the way to highly detailed like these. And we're on the zoom. Tampa works done good. Alabama registration. It's got that 4-wheel drive insignia there and the taillights. They did a good job. This is a hardtop version with jump seats, but they have soft tops and things like that. They made pickups. They made all sorts of versions of this. By this time, especially North American, they're spinning like an inline 6 with a stick shift, basically. Very basic. What dictated getting rid of this kind of thing really was, people wanted more comfort. So the next generations after this, they had full doors and air conditioning and radios, things like that, power windows. Those are the things that were more important. So these kind of was the last hurrah for this by 1980. You see the axles there. All right, so I spent a little time on this just because it's new to the collection and it's a great casting. I'm glad I hopped off the fence finally on buying this vehicle. Toyota. They went to a new script too by 1980. Toyota changed, so they did that too. Alright. Cool car. I hope to own one in real life. They're kind of hardcore vehicles, but they're fun. nonetheless. And they command good prices. Even old rotted out ones get a lot of money for them. All right, so we're going to look at M2 now. We're going to shift. That probably should have went with auto oil, but this one has kind of been on my bench for a minute. Okay, so this was more or less going on the same lines. Limited production, kind of an online situation. You really won't see this distributed widely. So I picked up this one. I love the pink. It was really striking looking. I did a subtle touch to it. One of 3,600. And each paint scheme that they did with the square body truck production thing is they like match the color. So this truck's pink and black, and like the one that, and I didn't get any more of these, but they have like a Desert Fox version with the brown and the striping, and it looks really good. This is a '79 Chevrolet, so they do GMCs too. I just thought this was really cool. It's like a really like an '80s Pro Street truck, because they used to paint them like this. So it's kind of nostalgic. Let's take a zoom. I won't spend 100%, a million hours on this, but you can see how the differences are. I reversed the wheels. They come with white letters. I kind of liked it all black. I haven't touched up the paint where it doesn't fully wrap around the body. Kind of hurts the eye when you're looking at it when it's still pink in there. So I'm going to get the gloss black out and finish that off. But other than that, when you're looking at it at a decent angle, it's nice. And it's metallic pink. And then the hood isn't straight black. It's actually metallic too. And M2 does a really good job. They painted the whole hood the black, and then they did the tampoing for the striping instead of painting it. So it has a clean representation. There's not a lot of overspray to deal with. Yeah, M2 with their paint has been really good. So, well, I thought this was interesting. When I looked at the taillights, they weren't transparent like usual. They kind of put a chrome foil and then they painted it red. So I thought that was funny. It's a black bumper. And then they got the Chevrolet, which is very nicely done. And then front bumper's pink, because it flows with the body. Let's pick this up a little bit. Truck's nice. I mean, the tires and wheels are actually pretty straight. They needed just a little bit of seating, but they're good now. And again, in the truck I really can't play with too much. I mean, it's very limited. There's other trucks you can buy in quantity, so you try to get the ones that are done or distributed much more, so you don't feel as bad taking them apart. The square bodies are a lot. We probably have to do a pan shot soon. I can never put them all in the same place, because I'm always having like 10 out or at a time looking at them or whatever. But I'll probably get them all together for some sort of group shot. So it's a really cool truck. Kind of was in my brain, because they released these trucks early, and they tell you, you can get it. You forget, but then it showed up for sale, so I thought it was a great one. All right. This was the one I probably mentioned in other videos of M2 that I wanted. So we looked at the Coca-Cola Racer's Wedge with the Gasser Mustang, and that was on a Ford cab. We got a Dodge cab now with a 66 Charger. But it was the Hurst livery that I love. This is the classic 60s Hurst when it was really coming up strong in the community. And this is painted really well. You can look at period vehicles like this and really see the similarities. And the Dodge at this L600, they had an L700 with the same body. Dodge tilt cab forward truck. And we'll look at that. But let's look at the package. The package is awesome. Now this is the one I had to get online. This was not easy to find. This was heavily poached locally. So you M2 people know how hard it can be. I'm not such a hardcore M2 person, but they make some good stuff, and I'm not. So these are going for heavy duty money already. This one I got online, it was a little damaged. Everything was good except for the card. So the card got a little jacked up, but I was going to intend on opening this anyway. I wasn't going to use it for investment. As people think the diecast world, you can do some really good heavy duty investing. That's kind of silly. Anyway, so I mean, it's cool. I love Hurst. Has so many good collaborations over the years with the OEMs. And this is no different. So this is a Chrysler outfit. This is a Dodge outfit. Let's look. So we're going to roll this truck in. This is a really nice truck. I didn't have to do anything. I wanted everybody to see this truck before I messed with it. It actually came out of the package very nicely. The wheels are pretty straight. the rollback, not the rollback, but the ramp truck part, the body is laying on the frame decently. M2 on these bodies, so they use them on all the chassis. It's got these, these are supposed to be mud flaps, I guess, but they hang down so low, it's like they scrape everything. So I feel like just trimming those off. This is basically how they were, and I didn't point it out last time, but you can put their scale tires in this tray. So you can lay tires in here and have a bunch of slicks and stuff. That'll fit. So that fits any 1/64 scale tire. A lot of the Real Rider Hot Wheels, they look like slicks, so those would be good to fill up. The other thing on this, unlike the other trucks, they got the recovery hooks on front. Or you can just lay chain around those, carry the chain around out front of the truck, but those are really finely detailed and they're angled. You can see how they're angled in. So this is an L600. They also had an L700. And they went to a heavier cab truck. Chrysler Corporation did trucks for a long time. They finally got out of it. Dodge was really a truck person. They made heavy-duty trucks, heavy-duty vehicles, and cars, but they always were dealing with trucks. So this is their last stand. I think they went into the 70s or 80s or whatever, but that was it. They would do heavy-duty diesels and stuff like that. So, hold on a sec. Let me get this to... There we go. And what's funny about this is they use the cab of a truck. Here, let me see. All the domestics, Ford and Chevy, did the same thing. They do a heavy chassis, but then they throw the regular truck cab on it. So this is basically grafted from this. I'm glad that M2 does both. So basically this type of cab, and they'd put the big fenders, the heavy chassis, and this would kind of just sit on top. That's why I was like these trucks. I mean, and they do this to this day. I mean, heavy mediums and heavy duties, a lot of them will have half-ton cabs. If you really look at the windshield, the stuff that's, expensive to, make different for different vehicles, like doors and all the components for the door and the safety equipment and the windshield and all that stuff. So, and headlights, if they can repurpose that and just kind of plop it on, the engineering just goes to the chassis. And the rest of the stuff you can just kind of reuse. But you could see the similarity. Now this is only has a one rear window, but these also had, like the old Chevy pickup trucks did from the 50s. They'd have a wraparound cab. This part here would be a piece of window glass too. So it'd be like a 5 window. They'd had that as a trim. I was reading up on these trucks. I forgot about them. They did offer diesel. A lot of them had poly V8s in them. Like a 318 would even be, a small block they'd use. Different gearing, but yeah, they'd use stuff like that. A lot of gas motors back then in these trucks. Diesel wasn't always used, but it was getting more popular. Especially, they started turboing them and stuff, and they got a lot better performance out of them. So it looks great with the Charger. This is the first year for a Charger, 66, and you can see it's basically a 2+2 car. It's a 4-seat car. It's an enormous car, but had a center console and went through the whole interior. So, and it was based kind of like on a Coronet, so you could put anything in this vehicle. I mean, Charger cars, you would have V8s in them all the way up to Hemis. But the Coronet, you get a 6-cylinder in this thing. It's a huge car. This is a real gasser. You know, it's got the little tank up there. It's supposed to be for fuel and you know, weight transfer and things like that. So it's like a blown Hemi. So you got blower and ladder bars, traction bars. This one has the leafs. A lot of times gassers, actually it's kind of good that we have this. Vans like this would have had these little light drop axles. These type of vehicles, they use these a lot for the front suspension on these things. Basically, you could get rid of a lot of crap under here and just use this. It was kind of a lighter front end, and it was good for putting the weight down here where they needed it. This is listing heavily, meaning that this car is very heavily off to the side, so they must have a 1,000-pound man driving this car. That's due to there must be some flash on this chassis. You can see how proud it is here versus here. So that's going to be addressed, but again, sometimes things turn out completely perfect, but M2, and sometimes they don't. I'll put it that way. Non-opening hood, so the hood is sealed, to my knowledge. They have the headers coming out, but they just kind of glue them to the fender wells. It's really not a hole in there. Oh, drop some. So, but just take a little glance at the Tampa work. So, it's all there on this car. It just needs a little help. For some reason they didn't put the taillight in. Now, again, when you have a race car, a lot of times they wouldn't run glass. This would have been faux. They would have painted it sometimes. If it was a true fiberglass car. A lot of the factory stock cars, they'd run tail lamps though, so I just don't have a lot of the 66 casting that M2 does to judge. So if anybody has one, let me know in the comments. Here's your information. And let's look underneath here. All die-cast chassis, which I love. So this would actually, you could use this frame, and they're going to be doing the box truck in this wheelbase. So big box truck, straight truck. The Moon Eyes truck, that's the next one on my list. And I don't want to buy all 4 trucks for $100 or whatever it is to get it either. So hopefully I find it. So good looking truck. I love it. It's very cool. Very excited to have it. L600, right? It's not a 700, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, L600. Okay. One last truck we'll look at. It's not going to be very exciting because I took the wheels off of it because I couldn't live with the wheels. You guessed it, it was an M2, but one that was on my list, another Hurst. This is a GMC. Yeah, just a GMC. I don't know what they called it back then. But it's not. It's like their C60. But I have a plan for this truck, and if you want to know what the wheels look like, it's just like the ones on here. But they jammed this thing into the box so hard that this thing was at a 90-degree angle up, and it was bad. Yeah, she's gonna need a rebuild. But I just wanted to show you the cab because it looks really good. It's got this great gold paint. And the new GMC grill. I didn't realize they were gonna do a GMC, so that was a surprise. And once I get the wheels going on this, it'll look great. I do have a plan. They're gonna do green light wheels. Gonna be similar to this truck here. Got a straight truck here, so these are gonna fit perfectly. So I'm gonna buy one of these, with a coupon. Probably one of those flatbeds that are always hanging around. And that's going to look very nice. So we'll do that, and they'll be much more appropriate. And I don't know if I want to go with the original black or chrome. I haven't decided. Maybe you can vote. If you've made it this long on the video, chrome or black wheels. I don't care which. I think chrome might look good because it is a Hurst. And that guy has chrome, so why not this guy? Alright, well, that's enough for today. We got a whole bunch of cars lined up. We're going to look at them, of course, so I'll try to get those out soon. We'll do a little bit of a shot here. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I love Hurst cars. They look very nice. Hopefully get more in the collection soon. More to come. We got to get organized here. More to come. And thank you all for your wonderful comments and subscriptions and likes. It's been very, very nice showing some cars with everybody. Stay well. Till next time.